South Carolina Republican Representative Nancy Mace is plotting an early resignation from Congress out of deep frustration with House Speaker Mike Johnson's leadership, particularly the systemic mistreatment of women in the GOP conference, fueling another explosive fracture in Donald Trump's already crumbling MAGA coalition. This bombshell New York Times report reveals Mace plans to huddle with Marjorie Taylor Greene next week to discuss her exit as Republicans face vanishingly small midterm majorities and relentless intraparty sniping. Trump's approval ratings have cratered to a historic -24 in the latest Gallup poll, with 60% disapproval across every issue from immigration's 25-point deficit to healthcare and budget's 33-point craters, accelerating the defection wave. Donald Trump's presidency is imploding, with fractures ripping through the MAGA ranks as his once fiercest loyalists like Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene turn into his harshest critics, plotting exits that threaten to doom the GOP's razor-thin House majority. A devastating Gallup poll released today buries Trump 24 points underwater at 36% approval and 60% disapproval, less than a year into his term, with no policy escape hatch in sight. Disapproval surges on crime by 9 points, foreign affairs by 15, trade by 19, and his vaunted immigration handling by a brutal 25 points, proving the immigrant-bashing propaganda falls flat. The Middle East economy, Russia-Ukraine war budget, and healthcare all clock in at 25 to 33-point deficits, painting a presidency adrift in public contempt. This polling apocalypse has unshackled Republicans from primary fears, knowing Trump lacks the clout to punish dissenters and no longer dangles rewards for loyalty. Mace's potential early resignation stems from raw fury at Speaker Johnson's woman-marginalizing regime, echoing Greene's revenge tour after Trump torpedoed her Senate ambitions. The New York Times exposes Mace's huddle with Greene as GOP women publicly savage Johnson's priorities and style amid a cascade of special election overperformances by Democrats. Less than a year from midterms, where the GOP clings to a vanishing majority, Johnson's gavel wobbles as complaints erupt from every conference corner, with predictions he may not survive the term. This isn't isolated chaos, but a full MAGA meltdown, where Trump's insurrection-era lows pale against current polling nadirs, forcing even diehards to eye the lifeboats. Trump's coalition is splintering at warp speed, with high-profile Republicans like Nancy Mace eyeing early exits amid blistering Gallup numbers that eviscerate his entire agenda without mercy. Approval sits at a dismal 36% against 60% disapproval, a -24 gut punch that dwarfs his past political scrapes, including the violent January 6th insurrection. Crime draws 9-point disapproval, foreign affairs 15, trade 19, and immigration, his supposed crown jewel, slams to a 25-point rejection as voters recoil from the cruelty in his propaganda reels. The economy tanks by 26 points, the Middle East and Russia-Ukraine war by 25 and 29 respectively, while budget and healthcare crater at 33 points each, underscoring a regime bereft of competence or compassion. Republicans no longer cower under primary threats because Trump shies from races he might lose, and his once mighty party grip has eroded into irrelevance without loyalty payoffs. Nancy Mace's brewing resignation targets Speaker Mike Johnson's feckless leadership, especially the blatant disregard for women in the House GOP, a frustration boiling over into open revolt. The New York Times details Mace's planned sit-down with Marjorie Taylor Greene next week to hash out her departure, mirroring Greene's January resignation after Trump crushed her Georgia Senate dreams. Mace's erratic antics have alienated allies, but her leadership rage resonates amid escalating GOP infighting as Democrats dominate special elections. Johnson's speakership, born from the 2023 McCarthy ouster spearheaded by Mace herself, now teeters on collapse, with women lawmakers leading the charge against his priorities. Midterms loom as a Republican extinction event, with the tiny majority at stake and Trump's betrayals, from Epstein file stalls to unfulfilled promises, igniting base fury. In the dimly lit backrooms of Capitol Hill, Nancy Mace paces furiously, her phone buzzing with leaked frustrations as she texts Marjorie Taylor Greene about their explosive huddle next week to plot her early congressional bailout. The New York Times reporters hunkered down, piecing together whispers from Mace's inner circle detailing her seething disgust at Mike Johnson's woman-trampling reign in the House GOP. Gallup pollsters crunch final numbers in sterile offices, revealing Trump's minus 24 abyss, with charts flashing red across immigration's 25-point bloodbath and healthcare's 33-point massacre. Greene's Georgia office still echoes with the sting of Trump's Senate shutdown, her resignation letter crumpled nearby, as she eyes Mace's parallel rage with a mix of solidarity and schadenfreude. Speaker Johnson's chambers feel the chill of encroaching revolt, his gavel idle amid stacks of complaint memos from female colleagues decrying his dismissive style. Special election war rooms buzz with Democratic triumph as overperformance tallies roll in from ruby-red districts, signaling the blue wave cresting toward midterms. Trump's Mar-a-Lago war room reeks of desperation, aides scrolling endless disapproval metrics from crime's 9-point flop to foreign affairs' 15-point rout. Oversight Committee hearing rooms thrum with tension as Robert Garcia grills witnesses on Epstein, stalls his voice sharp against Pam Bondi's foot-dragging and Kash Patel's stonewalling. The December 19th deadline looms like a guillotine, with subpoena stacks gathering dust and survivors' pleas echoing unanswered. Beyoncé's tracks pulse faintly in Garcia's headphones, a Spotify-wrapped nod to resilience amid the MAGA carnage unfolding in real time. Nancy Mace vents volcanic fury to confidants about Mike Johnson's patriarchal stranglehold on the House, labeling it a women's rights nightmare that demands her immediate flight from Congress. Marjorie Taylor Greene smirks through her own exit wounds, Trump's Senate veto still raw, as she agrees to strategize Mace's departure, blending revenge with reluctant sisterhood. AOC dissects the duo's meltdown on air, exposing their myopic self-pity for missing the patriarchal forest, choking GOP women from systemic misogyny. Robert Garcia shakes his head in oversight sessions, blasting Bondi and Patel for mocking the December 19th deadline with endless stalls despite bipartisan law and months-old subpoenas. James Comer dodges deeper probes, subpoenaing just 2 Epstein-linked banks like J.P. Morgan while ignoring over 20 other survivors flagged for financial trails. Garcia urges public clamor via podcasts, YouTube, and posts to shred Trump's hoax narrative and force file drops betraying his campaign vow. MAGA diehards squirm at base betrayal whispers as Greene's resignation and Mace's threats amplify the Epstein cover-up stench. Democrats revel in special election surges, flipping expectations and racking over performances that terrify GOP midterms calculators. Trump loyalists in the conference fracture further, with some craving transparency, others clinging to the cover-up in cognitive dissonance. Garcia's gut churns at Epstein Island horrors. The dentist chair masks phone lists, blackboards, and bedrooms stained by abuse, yet vows full public release, sans survivor names. Mace's resignation tease dissects as peak MAGA irony, a Trump-endorsed firebrand fleeing the boys' club she helped build, exposing Johnson's weak-fisted reign as a catalyst for female exodus. The Gallup apocalypse at minus 24 approval unravels Trump's invincibility myth, with immigration's 25-point flop gutting his border wall bravado and healthcare's 33-point crater signaling voter rage at broken promises. Greene's Senate snub ignited her anti-Trump crusade, a textbook revenge arc where thwarted ambition flips loyalty to laceration, mirroring Mace's leadership loathing. AOC's takedown nails the cognitive dissonance MAGA women embody, blaming personal slights on individuals while blind to patriarchal machinery Democrats actively dismantle. Garcia's oversight push reveals Republican half measures Comer's 2-bank subpoenas, a fig leaf over 20 ignored institutions, stalling justice for survivors. The Epstein Island visuals, a sterile dentist setup with creepy masks, phone rosters, and abuse-scarred bedrooms, analyzed as visceral indictments of elite impunity that Bondi and Patel bury to shield Trump. Public pressure via digital megaphones becomes the scalpel carving through Trump's hoax smokescreen, forcing accountability on a betrayer who campaigned on transparency only to govern in shadows. Midterm math tilts catastrophic for GOP, with special election over performances forecasting 40 to 50 House pickups as fractures like Mace's accelerate the bleed. Trump's reward drought starves loyalty, turning enablers into adversaries in a coalition devouring itself from within. Beyoncé topping Garcia's Spotify-wrapped whispers cultural defiance, a sonic middle finger to the regime's chaos, underscoring resilience amid the rubble. The sour tang of MAGA's self-immolation clings like smoke from a dumpster fire, as Mace and Green's sisterly scheming tastes of bitter vindication against Johnson's crumbling throne. Trump's polling graveyard minus 24 deep with immigration's immigrant-tormenting videos rotting in irrelevance leaves a hollow ache of squandered power. Epstein's Island ghosts. The masked dentist lair phone-summoned victims in violated bedrooms. Haunt the air immoral, rot no December 19th stall can exorcise. Garcia's measured fury in oversight hearings lingers as principled grit demanding subpoenas for 20-plus banks and Maxwell's grill, while Comer's timidity exposes GOP theater. AOC's dissection of women's blind spots resonates with tragic irony. MAGA damsels raging at dragons they helped hatch, ignoring Democratic broadswords against the beast. Special election adrenaline surges blue through red veins, forecasting midterm massacres where 3 flips become 50 as fractures widen into chasms. Trump's base betrayal festers, a pus-filled wound from campaign file vows to presidential cover-ups birthing detractors from devotees. The huddle between Mace and Green evokes clandestine daggers in dimly lit dens plotting the speaker's scalp amid vanishing majorities. Public clamor via YouTube rants and podcast firestorms simmers as the People's Forge hammering transparency from regime stone. Beyoncé's wrapped crown crowns the coda, a defiant disco beat pulsing through the wreckage, reminding warriors that even in MAGA's midnight the rhythm of resistance endures unbroken.